I took this very handsome guy from $8,000 a month to more than $40,000 a month with his fitness coaching business in less than 4 months. And I promise you, we didn't sacrifice client results along the way. We didn't change his offer to something insanely guaranteed, implement challenges or anything. And we didn't drop a single percentage in profit margin. So in today's video, I'll just walk you through the 5 decisions that I made as Søren, which is my client, being his mentor. Right, so I consulted Søren on everything. Søren did everything on his own. He simply just implemented everything that I told him to do. So major shout out to the guy. He executed every single aspect that I told the guy to do. So yeah, let's get into it. 5 steps. My goal when I met Søren was very, very simple. I wanted to build Søren a predictable cash flow business because that was exactly the position that he was in. He was seeking. I wanted to make sure that as a coach, in my opinion, in 2025, the only areas of focus that you should have is your clients and content. And you should have systems in place that allows you to chill and not worry about sales and acquisitions and meetings booked, etc. You're a creator and a person that serves your client, and that is the things that you should do. That is the only things that you cannot outsource. I run my own coaching business as well, and I focus on high profitability. So I do that for all of my clients. So high profit for Søren as well. And then, of course, making sure that we hit our goals short term while also making sure that we set up Søren for long-term success. So yeah, in this video, I'll walk you through the 5 decisions that I made and why I made them and in what order and how you can also implement the same thing into your service-based business. So a little bit about myself. I've done more than $3 million in revenue with my own coaching and consulting offers. Right now, I do $40,000 a month in profit while only taking calls 3 days a week. You can call me a hybrid consultant. It's just a cool word for having multiple offers and one core product. My core product is content setters and ads, and that is what I practice and that is what I preach. I've never received a bad review. I'm pretty good at setting expectations with the people that I work with, and I don't have an insane guarantee because it's 2025 people. People buy coaches, not coaching. Common for me and all of my clients is that we don't really have a lot of followers. As you can see, you're watching this on my YouTube channel with, I think, 2,400 subscribers. So I have never really been cool enough to work with a Miami influencer with hundreds of thousands of followers or millions and a large organic client base ready to buy. I started my own coaching and consulting business 2 years ago with 900 followers on Instagram. So I've been used to making the most of every single lead. And you can also see that all of the people that I work with, or all of the people on screen here, are doing more than $20,000 a month profit in their own hybrid consultant business. And yeah, they don't have a lot of followers either. So you don't need to have a lot of followers online. You just need to have the right people, and then you need the right product and the right offers to serve them. But let's run it up with Mr. Søren, who's now also turned into a very good friend of mine. But this was Søren 4 months ago when I met the guy. He was doing around $8,000 to $9,000 in monthly revenue. The only team members that he had was a video editor. He was working 10 hours a day on calls. Like, he was setting his own appointment, taking his own sales calls, and then serving his own clients. He's a very hardworking guy, as you can tell in the gym and also in his business. And he's been stuck on this area, 8 to 9K, for 3 to 4 months. When I met him, he had 9,000 followers on Instagram, which again, it's not really a huge measuring stick for me, how many followers you have. It's all about having the right followers. But my philosophy is to always run the ads through your social channels instead of sending the traffic off to a website, which was Søren was doing when I met the guy through a lead form. And this is Søren now. He makes $40,000 a month in revenue. He has a fully outsourced sales team consisting of 1 appointment setter and 2 closers. He spends only 2 hours a day on calls, mainly check-ins and kickoff calls with new clients. And basically every single month that I've worked with the guy has been a record month, which is very cool. And he now has 13.8K followers on Instagram because we send all traffic to his Instagram because we convert them for short-term cash, short-term clients. But I also want to build Søren a very, very good brand that the guy will be very happy about in 2 to 3 years from now. And we focus on content ecosystem. So a good mix of Reels, stories, YouTube, and podcast. I'll show you exactly how we run that flywheel. So here's how we did it. I say we because Søren executed on everything that I told the guy to do. Absolute legend. So here's my priority list when I started working with Søren. 5 points, and we'll run through each and individual point. So I promise you that you'll get all insights and how I did it. So the first one is data and numbers. Like, the only way that I can help Søren and take good decisions from a mentor, from a guidance point of view is that if I know all inside numbers, that's the only way that I can make good decisions that isn't based on my gut feeling. Then we needed a sales team because Søren was spending a lot of hours on calls, which was limiting his ability to serve clients and create new content. Then I had to turn Søren I had to kind of like shift the guy from a 10K a month hustler into like a CEO and a business owner that is capable of running an operation that does multiple 6 figures a year. Then, of course, we needed to turn on some ads so that we could predictably scale, get some numbers so that we knew exactly how much we were paying for a new client, how long they stick around, the sales cycle, etc. So that we now have something that we can push and kind of like turn up when we need more volume in the business. And then organic content. It's last on the list. Not to say that it's not important, but I think in Søren's case here, there were some things that were more important than just like grabbing content at the end of the day. So data and numbers. Here are the most important numbers that I was looking to acquire. Cost per acquisition. How much are we paying for a new client? Lifetime value. How much is one client worth? And then, of course, how much time, energy, and money are we spending on one client? So do we have people in support helping out with the client? How much are we paying the sales team? How much are we paying per ads? How much are we paying the editor and the content? So basically just like getting all numbers inside of the business to know how much we can be able to actually pay for one client so that it's still a profitable and a very good business. Then, of course, sales cycle. How long does it take for us to get a follower into a buyer? The shorter this period is, the easier it becomes for us to scale. Then, of course, also just like overall numbers in terms of how much are we paying per call, per lead, per follower, per conversation, how many conversations turns to call, how many people show up on the calls, and what is our closing rate. We needed that. Then, of course, also upsells, downsells. What happens when a client has finished their 6, 7, or 8 months contract with Søren? Do we send them into a low ticket? Do they continue? How can we make sure that we actually make sure that our clients stay in our ecosystem? And then, of course, profit margins. How much is Søren keeping to himself? And how do I, as the mentor, make sure that he will continue to do so when we actually push the speeder and scale? So yeah, we did exactly that. I provided Søren with all the trackers and frameworks that I used in my own coaching business so that he could track every single metric. Here is all of Søren's numbers for the last full 30 days. Right now I'm recording this middle of February, so this was January numbers. We spent 3K on ads. As you can see, we booked 200 calls. We knew cash, so cash from the 200 new calls in January, 15K, which means that we basically were turning $1 into 5 on front end. Then total cash, including with payment plans and everything, we collected around 40 to 45K. And then total contracted value was 65K. Søren sells a medium ticket offer where people pay him monthly for a 6, 7, or 8 months period of time. The cool thing here is that he collects 94% of the contracted value. So you can actually say that his business did 60K in January. But again, we only flex numbers on Stripe, right? And actually cash collected. He onboarded 55 new clients. He has around 200 clients in his fitness coaching business. He is currently getting 50 leads per day, followers. And he now has, in January, we rounded off at like 13.2K. So as you can see, front end, we turned $1 into 5. And actually on the back end, we basically turned $1 into 22, I believe. Which is absolutely insane, right? So from my end, looking at this is a very, very healthy business. And that is also why right away we implemented a sales team, right? Which was the second point. So like I needed all the numbers first, and then I could start hiring people to not only do the calls booking, so the appointment setting, but also taking the calls and converting new clients so that Søren didn't have to spend that many hours on sales. Because Søren is a coach, right? Like he should coach and create, not sell. He is someone that helps people with reaching their goals. He shouldn't convince them to work with him. We should have a process and content and a team in place to take care of that process, right? So right now the current team is an appointment setter and 2 salespeople. I've tried my best to protect Søren's personal profit margins, which means that the amount of money that we are now paying the sales team is actually being paid from Søren's clients, right? So we've increased the monthly recurring price so that differentiator actually takes care of Søren's team. So now Søren works 2 hours a day, but he still keeps the same amount of profit margin, and we now have infinite room to scale, right? The only thing that Søren does with his team is check-in and reviews with the sales team. I've taught him how to check in with them in the morning, end-of-day reports, setting monthly, weekly, and daily goals, and how to kind of like review calls and make sure that they're representing his business in the best possible way. Also, we focused a lot on this. A lot of people forget this. The communication between the content team, the setter, the closer, and actually also Søren. Because typically what happens with these fitness coaches or coaches in general is that they hire an external marketing agency to, for example, do the ads. And then the coach does all the other stuff themselves. But then there's suddenly a misaligning and a miscommunication in what we're saying in the ads and in the organic content and on the sales call. So my most important job for Søren here is to make sure that the content team, which is Søren and his editor, is well connected to the appointment setting and closing team so that we can actually pre-handle people's objections before they actually jump on a call. So if the closer is hearing the same objection over and over again, we need to create content around that certain objection. And then my main thing was really just this. I needed a cost per acquisition. So how much we're paying to get one client without Søren being involved. I needed a guy to just go on a 2 weeks holiday and then see how the business was running. Because once I had the number of acquiring a customer without Søren being involved, now we can just double it, right? We can just get a third salesperson, a second appointment setter, so on and so on. So sales team now takes care of everything. Søren keeps the same personal profit margins, and now all sales and acquisition is outsourced. And the numbers are actually better than when Søren was doing closing, because now you have a dedicated salesperson, and it makes perfect sense, right? Søren is spending time on his clients. He doesn't have the time to talk to 10 to 12 new people every single day. Very good. Next one is workflow and mindset. This is highly, highly overlooked. And it also a little bit voodoo, a little bit fluffy, so I understand why. But basically, in Søren's case, I really had to train Søren on more work is not equivalent to more results. Most people can get to 10K a month through enough hustle and enough grit. But the problem is that when you are at 10K a month, it's not the same actions or more of those actions that will get you to 50K a month. You need new systems, new processes, sales team, better content, different kinds of offers, and like overall you just like need to rebuild your business. So my goal was that Søren could take his mentality from a one-man army and wanting to do everything himself and work very hard to just being a CEO that makes better decisions. So really just like teach him about also making sure that he could spend his time where it's actually worth it on asymmetrical tasks. So for example, instead of Søren spending hours and hours on an organic Instagram reel, then the guy should spend 3 to 4 hours of his time and energy making the perfect ad, right? Because the ad will be seen by 20, 30, 40 times more people than just his organic reels, as an example in the beginning, right? Also, the Søren's mindset should always be in a state of creation. When you are a coach, what you're really just doing is coaching and inspiring and teaching people. So you always just need to be in a state of producing content, sharing stories, day-to-day life, personal values, what you're doing, demonstrating instead of marketing, and really just sharing a lot online, because the more we can share, the more the new people that are coming in through our social funnel and content ecosystem is being nurtured, and the faster we can convert them and get new clients, which at the end of the day means that we can help more people faster, right? Also, once you start getting employees, the company really starts, like it's so important that the people who work for you also bought into the mission, the vision of why Søren does what he's doing, right? Søren is convinced, he loves fitness, it changed his life, and now he's teaching others. But the appointment setter should also have the same mentality. The 2 salespeople should have the mentality. The content guy should have that mentality. So we needed to create a vision that was a little bit bigger than Søren so that people could actually buy into that vision and also have the same conviction that Søren has in his own service. And then also going from investing into Søren himself to investing into the business. So better content, sales training, ads, systems, processes, putting money into the business instead of into Søren as the leader. And Søren did a really good job on this, so big shout out. It took some time, also because he's a fitness coach, so he's used to the more hours in the gym, the bigger biceps, right? But he's amazing at it now, so big shout out. Then of course, turn on ads. Like the only way that you can predictably scale something is if you have something that you can always control. You can't control organic, you can't control YouTube performance. You can, of course, control the sales team, but it's also people behind it, so they can also have bad and good days, which also fluctuates. But if there's one thing that never changes, it's ads. You put $1 in, and then you reach a certain amount of people, and then you just need numbers from stranger to interested to book call to close call. So we needed to ads. We needed to run ads. We started low, and then now we're just slowly scaling. As you can see, we started with probably $500 to $600 a month. Now we're spending $3K a month. We're turning $1 into $5 in the front end, and then $1 into $22 in the back end. So it's honestly one of the most insane setups that I've ever seen. It works very well. Again, we run it to all of CERN's social channels to because that's my philosophy. Grow your socials and people. That ecosystem is way more important, in my opinion, than phone numbers and emails, especially when it's a B2C fitness offer. Then what I really just needed was to have a certain amount of money that we spend on ads every single month to fill the calendar of CERN's sales team. And that's basically just it. How much are we paying for one call? And then we can have 200 calls on calendar. Well, then we spend 200x of what we are paying for one call, right? And yeah, this philosophy is, again, very important, investing into the business, because in my opinion, if you have a digital product like CERN's fitness offer here with very, very high profit margins, 95%, well, then you can never lose money on ads if your time horizon is just long enough. And a lot of people don't understand that. So in my opinion, if you are considering starting with ads, take a number that you're willing to lose. It shouldn't be seen as gambling, but a little bit. At least the mentality is good to have, because you should be able to have enough ice in your veins to just take that ad spend and that money that you allocate for it and then divide it into 3 months and then just let it run. So ads are doing wonders for CERN's business now, because now we can just turn up and down depending on what the goals are. Sorry, it's raining a little bit here in Bali. Not good, rain season. The final point is content, because now that we have predictable, we know all numbers. We have an outsourced sales team where we can just hire more people if the volume increases, and we decide if we want to increase the volume through the ads, right? So now my goal was simply just to make sure that CERN is in a position where he has time and energy to create amazing organic content. Because what really happens with organic content is it's really just a trade-off. You should see organic content as a vehicle in your business that will lower your cost per acquisition over time, because you are growing organically and getting more organic viewers in, and also as a nurturing mechanism. So that's the way that you should see it. It's a very long-term play. So I always like to combine it with ads, so that it's kind of like high ad spend and then like your organic content. And then over time you want it to do like this, right? So that you can lower your ad spend while your organic content just like snowballs. The way that we do it with CERN here is a kind of like a 4-step series. We have YouTube, podcast, Reels, and Instagram stories. Instagram is the main traffic driver, so we're very focused on having always 6 daily stories, as you can see here from CERN's profile. And then, of course, Instagram Reels. The content we post on CERN's Instagram is client transformations, as you can see, workout videos, nutrition, meal plans, etc. And then also head talk. CERN is very driven by motivation and discipline, and he's really good at that himself, so it makes sense that he practices that and preaches that in his own business. So we kind of have these like 3 different pillars inside of our organic content on Instagram. So that is being taken care of. Then we have long form YouTube. We mainly do vlogs from CERN, so that you can. So this over here on Instagram is very short-term fitness based. So client transformations, nutrition, workouts. And then his YouTube is really where people trust CERN, because they will spend the whole day with the guy in Thailand, for example. Then CERN also does something very smart. He does podcasts where he invites very cool people. Yes, that's me. He invites people in to talk on his podcast, where, of course, a person like myself would share that out there. So we basically audience hack other people by getting them on CERN's podcast. So it works very well. And also, CERN's podcast always an hour to 1 hour and a half. And I guarantee you, if a person sits down with you for 90 minutes and listens to a podcast, they're almost sold. Guaranteed. So now organic content is our biggest focus point, because everything else is dialed in. You know, we have all of the numbers up here dialed in. We have the sales team dialed in. CERN is absolutely amazing now at managing his team, reviewing, good culture, good people. He has very good salary models to make sure that people are engaged and want to work very hard in his business, while he still keeps a very, very healthy profit margin to himself. We have ads that is running beautifully. As you can see, we turned 3K into 65K cash, 65K contracted with a 94 collection rate, right? So this business is extremely, extremely healthy. And the only thing that I'm now telling Søren to do is just client satisfactory and organic content. Create. And that is basically it. That is how I took Søren from a guy that was hustling 10 hours a day, making 8 or 9K a month, to now only taking calls 2 hours a day and making 40K a month. And I guarantee you I'll get Søren to 100K over the next 6 months here, because, yeah, we have all numbers. Client satisfaction is very high. Yeah, it's a plug and play at this point. And I've done it multiple times before, getting people to 6-figure month. So that's very nice. So I really hope that you learned something from this video in terms of how I make my decisions, why I make the decisions that I do, and also my overall business philosophy to how you should run a coaching business, service-based business in 2025. If you would like to undergo same transformation as Søren, or if you need a mentor, or if you just overall need some help to scale and you resonate with the way that I run my business, then send me a message on Instagram. And if not, then I just wish you all the best in your business. Go out there and crush it. And then I'll just see you in the next video.